Jane Morgan, the Executive Director of Piedmont Healthcare's COVID Task Force, joins me now. All right, Dr. Morgan, you just heard Dr. Burton's interview. What's your reaction?
Hi, Paula. I think he is dead on. What's interesting is that we see the World Health Organization has elevated this variant from a variant of interest, which means that it shows specific genetic markers that may be of concern in transmissibility and severity of disease, in the ability to evade vaccines. It then advanced that to a variant of concern, which means that there is evidence that there is increased transmissibility, increased severity of disease, increased ability to decrease neutralizing antibodies, and an increased ability to perhaps evade some of our medical therapeutics. So this is very interesting, and we are all awaiting what is the data that the World Health Organization knows, and what are we going to find out in the coming weeks that justify this advance to a variant of concern. The next elevation will be a variant of high consideration. A variant of high consequence, and a variant of high consequence absolutely evades all of our medical therapeutics. So we are now at a variant of concern, which means that there is evidence that this variant has met these metrics, and so it will be interesting to see what this data shows.
So we're hearing that this virus has 50 mutations, and as Dr. Burton just said, that can be concerning. Why are so many mutations so concerning, even if what we hear so far is that the symptoms appear to be on the mild side?
So the more mutations we have, sometimes we call these clustering of mutations, they can, as they cluster to form this new variant, the variant can take on multiple properties. As we see in this particular variant, it has some properties of alpha, it has some properties of beta, it has some properties of delta, and now it has also created some unique mutations as well to add to that. So we have some of the old and we've added some of the new into that. Specifically, 10 of these mutations are very specific to the receptor binding domain. That is actually how the virus attaches to the body. And in comparison, the Delta variant only had 2 mutations in this particular area of the virus. So it's certainly a variant that we are watching, and we want to just keep an eye on it. Ultimately, we are a global society. We are all interconnected. We are interdependent. And so when South Africa sneezes, we see that the world can be affected. And we need to think about this as a global pandemic, and that we cannot continue with community immunity, meaning some areas have vaccines, some areas do not have vaccines, even within the United States, as we see people opting out of vaccines and some people opting in, because the unvaccinated populations, wherever they are in the world and for whatever reasons they exist, perform this nidus, create this nidus of more mutations and variants developing that can subsequently have the potential to be variants of concern, or at worst, variants of high consequence. So we must begin to continue to push vaccination globally, not only here in the United States, but also globally.
And of course, it's not just about convincing people to take the vaccine. In some parts of the world, it's also about access to the vaccine. But what do you say to people who are quote unquote anti-vaccine, who will look at this and say, look, I didn't get the shot because clearly I'm just going to have to keep getting shots? What do you say to people who are using this new variant to further their arguments about why they didn't get a vaccine in the first place?
So this variant is a wake-up call. No matter how it turns out, this variant is a wake-up call that we really are running on luck. And when you look at luck, it really is never a part of any scientific algorithm, any clinical consideration, no medical guideline for patient management or scientific integrity includes the integration into the formula of luck. And what we also know about luck is that eventually it runs out. So this is a wake-up call. No matter what Omicron turns out to be, other variants will continue to develop if we cannot move forward and reach herd immunity globally.
Well, Dr. Jane Morgan, thank you so much for being with us and sharing that important context.
Thank you, Paula.